Last summer, a lot of people across the US paid between $180 and $300 a month just to keep their house cool. Not because they were being wasteful, not because their AC unit was broken, but because of something happening about 8 feet above their heads that nobody ever told them to fix. There is a $4 material that, when installed correctly in your attic, can cut the amount of heat pressing down into your living space by up to 40%. It's not new technology. The Department of Energy has data on it. The research goes back decades, and yet if you've never heard of it, that's not an accident. My name is Hunter Lawson. This channel is about the knowledge that works but doesn't get talked about. Survival skills, off-grid solutions, and practical techniques that got crowded out by more profitable answers. If that's the kind of content you're looking for, hit subscribe right now, because what I'm about to show you in this video is one of the most straightforward things you can do to your house, and you can finish it in a single Saturday morning. Let's get into it. Here's what's actually happening inside your house, and once you understand this, you'll never look at your electric bill the same way again. On a typical summer afternoon, when the outside temperature hits 90 degrees, your roof deck, the wood and shingles sitting on top of your house, absorbs solar radiation and heats up to somewhere between 150 and 170 degrees. That heat doesn't stay on the roof. It radiates downward into your attic space, and from there it presses through your ceiling into every room you're trying to cool. Your air conditioner kicks on, pulls the warm air out, cools it down, and pushes it back in. But the ceiling above you is still radiating heat downward like a heating panel. So the AC runs again, and again, not because anything is broken, because it's fighting a problem that was never addressed at the source. Now, most people assume that's what insulation is for, and this is where most people are fighting the wrong battle. Think about sitting near a campfire. The air between you and the fire isn't hot, but your face feels the heat immediately. That's radiant heat. It travels as waves directly from a hot surface to whatever it's pointed at, without needing to warm the air in between. Your roof deck is doing the exact same thing to your ceiling. Your insulation, the pink fiberglass or the blown-in material in your attic floor, is good at slowing heat that moves through solid material or still air. But radiant waves pass right through insulation's air pockets without slowing down. So you can have a fully insulated attic and still have your ceiling radiating heat downward all afternoon, because the insulation was never designed to stop that. You add more insulation, you upgrade the AC unit, and the roof is still acting like a giant heat lamp pointed straight down at your living space. This is the core problem, and now here's the part that actually changes the equation. So why don't contractors mention this? Why doesn't your utility company include it in their energy-saving tips newsletter? The honest answer is pretty simple. There's no money in it for anyone but you. A roll of reflective foil doesn't require a licensed installer. It doesn't need an annual tune-up. It doesn't create a service relationship. When a homeowner can fix a meaningful chunk of their cooling problem on a Saturday for $30, that's not a product anyone can build a business around. So it doesn't get marketed, it doesn't get recommended, it exists in building science journals and Department of Energy publications, and it sits there quietly while the conversation stays focused on things that generate revenue. That's not a conspiracy, that's just how industries work. The solutions that empower you to need less tend to get less airtime than the solutions that require you to keep spending. In the 1970s, during the energy crisis, a wave of homesteaders, off-grid builders, and practical engineers started writing about radiant barriers in DIY manuals and small circulation publications. The Florida Solar Energy Center ran real-world studies through the 1980s and 1990s, showing 17 to 42% reductions in attic heat gain. The Department of Energy acknowledged the technology. Some state energy programs in Florida and Texas briefly included it in their recommendations, and then, just as quietly, it faded out of the mainstream conversation. Not because it stopped working, the physics didn't change, it just didn't generate enough recurring revenue to stay in the spotlight. That is exactly the pattern I keep running into across every topic I cover on this channel, from wilderness survival to off-grid home design. The most effective solutions are almost never the most commercially visible ones. If what I just described is genuinely new information to you, and for most people it is, that tells you something about how we normally learn about our homes. We learn what we're sold. This channel exists to offer a different kind of education. Subscribe and hit the bell if you want to keep getting it. I put out new content every week and not all of it gets pushed by the algorithm. The bell notification is the only reliable way to make sure you see it. Now let's get into exactly what you need and how to install this correctly. The product is called Radiant Barrier Foil, and you can find it at Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, or any regional hardware store. It's also available online. When you're standing in the aisle looking at the options, here's the one thing to check. The package should say either Radiant Barrier or Lowy Foil. If it lists an emissivity rating, you want that number to be 0.1 or lower. All that means is how much heat the surface reflects versus absorbs. Lower is better. But honestly, any product labeled specifically as a radiant barrier for attic use will meet that standard. You don't need to do math in the aisle. One word to look for on the label, perforated. That just means tiny holes in the foil that allow moisture vapor to pass through. In an attic, you want that. An airtight foil can trap humidity in your roof structure, and that creates a much bigger and more expensive problem than heat. Perforated, that's the word. A standard roll covering 500 square feet typically runs between $30 and $50. For a small attic, or if you want to test one section first, smaller rolls cost as little as $3 or $4. For the average house, your total material cost will be somewhere between $30 and $60. Now here's how it actually works, because understanding the mechanism is what lets you install it correctly. The foil works by reflecting radiant waves back before they penetrate your living space. The reflective surface has to face the heat source, meaning it needs line of sight with the hot roof deck above, and it must have an air gap of at least 1 inch on the reflective side. If you press the foil flat against another surface with no space, it conducts heat instead of reflecting it, and you've defeated the entire purpose. This is the single most common installation mistake. It's why some people put up radiant barrier and report no difference at all. The air gap is not a detail, it is the mechanism. Before we get into the installation steps, one important safety point about timing. Attic temperatures in summer can hit 140 degrees by mid-morning. This is not a project you do on a Sunday afternoon. You go up at sunrise, 6 or 7 in the morning, when the attic has had the overnight hours to cool down. Bring water, plan to work for no more than 2 hours at a stretch. If you feel dizzy or overheated at any point, come down immediately. No energy savings are worth a medical emergency. Here's what you'll need: a roll of perforated radiant barrier foil sized for your attic square footage, a standard staple gun with 1/2-inch staples, a utility knife or heavy scissors, safety glasses, work gloves, and a headlamp. Not just a flashlight, because you need both hands free. If your attic has blown insulation on the floor, add a dust mask. There are 2 ways to install this, and I'll walk you through both. The first is the rafter method. You staple the foil directly to the underside of your roof rafters. Those are the angled wooden beams that run from the ridge down to the top of your exterior walls. You drape the foil loosely between rafters with the reflective side facing down toward the attic floor, and staple it into the sides of each rafter every 12 to 18 inches. The loose drape naturally creates the air gap you need on the reflective face. This method stops radiant heat right at the roof deck before it ever enters the attic space, which makes it the most effective option for most homes. The second is the joist method. Instead of working on the rafters, you lay the foil flat across the floor joists of your attic, the horizontal beams that form the ceiling of your living space below. You drape it loosely between joists with the reflective side facing up toward the roof. This is physically easier because you're working on a flat plane rather than reaching up to angled rafters. It's particularly good for homes where HVAC ductwork runs through the attic, because it protects that ductwork along with your living space. The trade-off is that the attic itself still gets very hot. You're just keeping that heat from radiating down into the house. For most homes, the rafter method gives better overall results. If you have ductwork in the attic, consider doing both. Here's the installation sequence for the rafter method. Start at one end of the attic nearest the eave and work toward the ridge. Cut the foil into manageable sections, roughly the span between 2 rafters plus a foot of extra on each side. Drape it over the rafter, staple through the foil into the rafter face every 12 to 18 inches, and let it hang loosely in the bay between rafters. Overlap each section by 4 to 6 inches as you move to the next row. You don't need to tape the overlaps. The overlap itself is sufficient. Around obstacles like junction boxes, vents, and pipes, cut the foil to fit as closely as you reasonably can. Some gaps are fine. You're covering the majority of the roof surface, not achieving a perfect seal. At the ridge, the very peak, leave a gap of 6 to 12 inches unfoiled on each side. Your ridge vent needs clear airflow. Blocking it with foil traps moisture in your roof structure, and that's a far more expensive problem to fix. A 1,200 to 1,500 square foot attic can be done in 3 to 4 hours by one person working at a steady morning pace. If you want to split it over 2 weekends to manage the heat exposure, that works just as well. Now let's talk about what to actually expect. And I want to be straight with you here, because the last thing I want is for you to spend a weekend on this and feel misled. Your attic will feel different within a day. The space itself will be noticeably cooler because the foil is reflecting heat back before it has a chance to accumulate. Your living spaces will feel less stuffy in the afternoon, which is typically when attic-to-ceiling heat transfer is at its worst. What this won't do is make your AC irrelevant. On a 95-degree day in August, you're still running the AC. This is not a replacement for mechanical cooling in a hot climate. It's a load reducer. It means your AC runs less frequently, cycles off sooner, and isn't working as hard for the same result. The Department of Energy's published estimate is a 5 to 17% reduction in cooling energy costs. The Florida Solar Energy Center's research showed attic heat gain reductions up to 42% in hot climates. Those numbers aren't contradictory. Reducing attic heat gain by 40% doesn't reduce your total bill by 40%, because your AC is managing other loads beyond the attic. But for a household paying $200 a month in peak summer, a 10 to 15% reduction is $20 to $40 a month. Over a 5-month summer, that's $100 to $200. Your material cost was $30 to $50. The project pays for itself in weeks and keeps paying every summer for the next 15 to 20 years without any maintenance. You're not going to see a dramatic transformation on your first bill. You're going to see a consistent, cumulative reduction every warm month for as long as you live in that house. That's a better outcome than dramatic, because it's permanent. Now here's where things start to change even further, because radiant barrier foil is effective on its own, but it's significantly more effective when you understand what it's working with. Your attic is a system. Heat gets in through the roof deck. It builds up because hot air has nowhere to go. It presses down because that's what heat does. Foil addresses the radiant component. But there are 2 other parts of this system you can address for almost no cost, and each one multiplies the effect of everything else. The first is attic ventilation. Your attic needs to exhale. It needs a continuous pathway for hot air to escape. Intake at your soffit vents along the bottom, exit at your ridge vent or gable vents at the top. This is called the stack effect, and it's the same principle that makes a chimney draw smoke upward. Cool air enters at the bottom, heats up, rises, and exits at the peak. When it's working properly, it prevents hot air from sitting and building in the attic space. Many older homes have blocked soffit vents. Insulation has drifted into them over the years, or they were never properly opened during construction. Walk the exterior of your house and look at the underside of your roof overhang. You should see a row of small vents or a continuous vented strip. Then go into the attic and check whether there's a clear airway from those vents upward or whether insulation has buried the opening. Clearing a blocked soffit takes 20 minutes and costs nothing. Rafter baffles, small cardboard or foam channels that keep the airway open from soffit to ridge, cost about $1 each at any hardware store. A properly ventilated attic combined with radiant barrier foil creates a genuinely powerful passive system. The foil reduces how much radiant heat enters from the roof deck. The ventilation removes whatever hot air does build up. Your ceiling is now dealing with a fraction of the thermal load it dealt with before. The second is air sealing. This one isn't as visible, but building scientists consistently rank it as one of the highest return improvements a homeowner can make. Hot attic air gets into your living space not just through radiant transfer, but through hundreds of small gaps, around recessed light fixtures, plumbing penetrations, HVAC boots where ducts pass through the ceiling, and attic hatch frames. A single older recessed can light, if it's not an airtight fixture, can allow as much air infiltration as a half-inch hole in your ceiling. Multiply that by every can light in your house. High-temperature caulk and spray foam applied from the attic side around every penetration you can find costs about $15 in materials and takes an afternoon. Combined with foil and ventilation, you now have 3 layers working together, and each one makes the others more effective. The reason I cover topics like this on this channel, and not just standard home improvement how-tos, is because there's a mindset underneath the technique that matters. The people who were writing about radiant barriers and passive cooling in the 1970s weren't primarily trying to save $20 a month. They were building homes that didn't depend on something they couldn't control. They thought about heat and airflow the way a backpacker thinks about water, as something you understand and manage, not something you just purchase on demand. There are people living in Texas and Arizona right now who maintain comfortable interior temperatures without mechanical cooling. Not because they have access to exotic technology, because they combined techniques like this one: radiant barrier, passive ventilation, thermal mass, strategic shading, into a system, each piece modest on its own, together genuinely powerful. That's the principle I come back to on this channel, whether I'm talking about wilderness survival or home energy. Understanding the fundamentals gives you options, and options are what most people are quietly hungry for, especially right now. The next video in this series is going to go deeper. I'll show you how passive ventilation design and thermal mass work together, and how you can apply those principles even in a conventional house. That's coming soon. Before I close, I want to hear from you in the comments. Tell me what you pay for electricity in your peak summer month. Just the number. I read every single comment, and your answers are going to directly shape what I cover next on this channel. If this was useful, share it with someone who's been complaining about their electric bill. Not as a favor to me, but because this is genuinely practical information that most people don't have, and the best way it travels is person to person. My name is Hunter Lawson. The vault is open. I'll see you in the next one.